Welcome to another episode of the Danish Water Forum podcast. My name is Ines Vrede, a young water professional in Denmark. Our guest today is Dennis Grombacher, the winner of the Nihas Prize during the last edition of the Danish Water Forum. Dennis, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm an assistant professor in the geoscience department at Aarhus University. I study near surface geophysics, so using technologies that from the ground surface can inform about water properties at depth. And much of my research is focused on building these different types of imaging tools and kind of exploring different ways that they can be used to better manage groundwater resources. And then my background, my PhD, I did at Stanford University, working with these same kinds of technologies. And then that was in geophysics. And then I come from Canada, so I'm not actually Danish. And I did my undergrad at the University of Alberta in Canada, where I studied astrophysics.
And how did you ended up coming here? What was the reason that you were drawn to Denmark?
Yeah, it was really to join the research group that I'm part of right now called the
Okay.
Hydrogeophysics Group, which is kind of a world-renowned group in the field. So they have pioneered a whole range of different technologies. And so it was really kind of a chance to join the big boys, I guess, if you will.
Wow, that's impressive. And I hope that you're having a good experience, of course. Do you remember what was your research about, the one specifically that made you win the award from NIHAS in the last edition of the Danish Water Forum?
Yeah, I do. It was part of a project that's in partnership with the Paul Jensen Foundation, who are the owners of Grundfos, where we're trying to showcase the use of a new transient electromagnetic technology that's been developed here in the group, but to showcase the value of that system in what we call data poor regions, so areas that have little to no pre-existing knowledge of local groundwater systems. And so that study was kind of discussing the first pilot studies we've done in Tanzania, working in refugee camps and in
Yeah.
host communities, which are just local Tanzanian communities neighboring the refugee camps.
There are a lot of projects regarding water, a lot of WASH projects in Tanzania.
Mm-hmm.
Is this knowledge already being used for this type of projects or applied in some way?
So it was quite new in the sense that it's pushing very cutting edge kind of near surface geophysical technology into these environments. So there is a big gap between state of practice for water exploration in these areas and what kind of is the state of science, or at least state of practice in more Western nations. So it was kind of the first time that we've taken this very new system that's just been developed in the group here over the past 3 or 4 years, which has been kind of pushed into production mode, both in Denmark, across Europe, also some campaigns in the United States, but had never really been pushed into the developing world like this. So it was kind of uncharted territory in that sense, that it was really kind of a more extreme remote deployment than the system is typically used in.
Wow, that's very impressive. I can, of course, see the interest of Paul Jensen Foundation on this. It aligns very well with their work and mission overall. Um, what when I don't know if you have any thoughts on how it was the day. I don't know if it was very special the day that you won the prize, but did it mean something? Well, you were already a postdoc by that time, or assistant professor, sorry, by then,
Yep.
right? Because when I won it, I was a PhD student. It was the last year of my PhD study, so it meant
Mm.
like the world. It was my last day of my PhD, so it was
Oh,
really
wow. What a going
exciting.
out present.
Exactly. So I was wondering how you felt, what did it mean to you to receive that award or that recognition?
It was really great. So it's nice to get such a high level of interest from such a broad community. So typically when we're working, like the type of research that we do where we're building these instruments, or we're really kind of down in the weeds, these nitty gritty kind of very technical pursuits, often it's tough to get traction with a community that's not also living in that very narrow kind of world that you live in. So it's nice that you can be a part of a project that just really resonates with everyone. You talk about finding water in refugee camps, using these cutting edge technologies in these areas. It's nice to see kind of the excitement from people and kind of be able to share something with them.
And do you feel, I hear that you have a connection with the project, that it's something that you're very much connected with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm sorry if I'm just assuming it, but it's the way that you're talking about it so passionately. Um, is there is there a connection? Does this connection is required? Do you feel like your research level or the conclusions that you came to were much also brought in because of your connection to the project? Did it make a difference to be connected to the project emotionally or humanitarily, let's say?
Yeah, definitely. It's easy to come into work when you can really be proud of what you're trying to accomplish. And it's a really unique project for me, for sure, but also for the group, in that it so kind of implicitly is balancing research objectives with humanitarian goals. So really getting to push kind of the new state-of-the-art research that we're working every day on, but really have this kind of this carrot that you're chasing that can like so directly see the impact at the end of the day is a really nice kind of work environment. When it's more just developing tools for the sake of having better tools, it's less motivational, I guess. But when you can so clearly see, okay, if we do this and we're successful, it can have very tangible impacts for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's kind of an exciting work environment to be in.
How did it work? Were you able to connect with the communities in Tanzania?
Yeah, so
How?
the Paul Jensen Foundation put us in partnership with an NGO called Water Mission.
Yeah.
So Water Mission's a big global NGO that does all kinds of humanitarian water-related activities all over the region. I think globally even, not even just Africa. But they have a permanent presence in Tanzania. So they have permanent offices. There's maybe about 25 approximately Water Mission employees at their facilities in the province, so Kasulu province in Tanzania. And so it was really through them that we were able to do these types of projects. So they already have permission to operate in the refugee camps. They gained access to it. They were the introduction with the communities. And so it was really through the foundation kind of letting us piggyback on a lot of ongoing water mission activities.
Mm.
So they have ambitions of drilling in many of these communities that we were doing the campaigns in, but they were going to do the drillings sometime in the future. So it was an opportunity for us to do the pre-scouting campaigns, hoping that we could optimize where they do the well siting. Because they've had issues in the past with spending a lot of resources and time and then having unsuccessful wells at the end of the day,
Yeah.
which is both hugely disappointing, but also just a big sunk cost, basically.
Yeah.
Projects with limited amounts of resources and then without any deliverables at the end of the day if you drill a dry well. So to try and scout beforehand and then hopefully increase the likelihood that they drill these successful wells at the end of the day, it's a good synergy between our objectives and what we do and then what Water Mission's actually on the ground doing every day.
Yeah, I think that this connection overall with knowledge sharing between Denmark and the rest of the world, especially when we look into emerging economies or developing countries, then it's really important to have this contact with community and have a feedback of what it's possible and what best suits the local community. And I think that in this case, your research really fits in to a need and responds to a need. So I'm very, very happy, and I cannot wait to learn more about examples and really actions that were taken after you showed your results. So that's really exciting. Um, I don't know, have you ever been to a Danish Forum conference, or was the last year the first one?
I had been once before.
Okay.
I didn't present, I just had attended. I think
Okay.
that may have been 2017, possibly.
What was your feeling when you were there?
I think it's a nice opportunity to kind of pull your head out of the sand.
Mm.
So I'm also guilty of a lot of times kind of being so narrow-minded and focused on my one little thing that I'm chasing, that it's kind of nice to have a day where you can step back and kind of take in the full landscape, see what everyone else is working on, where your work fits in within everyone else, and also kind of make introductions and find possible future collaborators or areas where your work might have opportunity, or kind of idea building, I guess, is the main kind of takeaway for me.
Yeah, that I would agree that I really like that as well. Are you part of any organization that gives you a network here in Denmark?
Not Danish specific.
No.
I guess the societies that I'm part of are the kind of larger European scale or American scale, kind of the big societies, American Geophysical Union,
Yeah.
those kinds of places.
Of course, you brought that from your background.
Mm-hmm.
And how easy was it to integrate into Danish culture and Danish work environment and all
I'd
of that?
say very easily. So our group is quite large. We have maybe 30 people working in our research group, and I think at any given time over the past 5 years, it's been maybe 50% foreigners. So English is widely spoken in my office. In
Right.
fact, so widely spoken that I almost speak no Danish 5 years later, unfortunately. But it's been almost no problems coming
Yeah.
from the US or from Canada and then integrating into a Danish research group, at least in my experiences.
Do you see any difference? I mean, any thing that the Danish research environment has that it's different from the one from your experience from the States?
Um, they're quite similar. This is a much
Yeah.
larger scale group than I was in previously. Before, we had maybe 10 at our peak in my old research group. The main difference, I think, is that the group that I'm in right now, the hydrogeophysics group, has very strong ties with industry and with a
Yeah.
lot of different governmental
Isn't that
bodies.
amazing?
Yeah, it's not really academic research for the sake of academic research. It's
Right.
very much working closely with end users, working closer with managers, kind of always having to be conscious of how your data is used at the end of the day, and kind
Yeah.
of trying to build products or systems that best meet the needs of the end user.
Yeah, that's just one of the things that I really love about Denmark. It was actually why I decided to stay in Denmark.
Mm.
It was because I felt that there was an opportunity for synergies and working together towards a common goal, that all that communication between stakeholders was much easier. So I'm really happy that you noticed that. That also caught my eye.
Yeah, even that the industry partners are so interested in the
Yes.
research aspects of things, very much being completely willing to participate in projects that don't have the tools that they'll be using in 3 years or something. They're willing to invest in the future in that way, that they'll kind of commit to waiting 2 years for development so that we can do this next thing better. And
Yes, and
it's
it's incredible, and that's one of the reasons why I believe the future of water is in Denmark, of water technology.
mhm.
Um, I don't know if you're aware that there's another big conference coming to Denmark. It's going to be, now it's postponed to next year, is the International Water Association conference. So it's going to be it's in May
Mhm.
2021. It's the YWP 2021. Have you ever heard about it before?
I hadn't until this past year. So I'm
Okay.
planning to present the same topic actually as what I talked about at the Danish Water Forum
Yeah.
at that conference as well. I guess it was scheduled for last October, or no, maybe this
Yes.
October, I guess.
This October.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like your work actually aligns very well because the SDGs are also part of the topic or
Mm.
fall under this umbrella of for the conference. So I feel like your research really fits, and it will be really interesting to hear it again and to share it, because there you will have people from all over the world
Hmm.
listening to it and sharing their opinions and maybe being uh, bringing some awareness to these new possibilities. So I cannot wait. And actually, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm part of the Young Water Professionals Network here in Denmark, which is gathering about 250 young water professionals under the age of 35, let's say, that are in the sector. And we are very much involved in organizing also IWA 2021. And I'll probably, well, the idea is for me to also run a podcast during the IWA 2021. So I would love to invite you again for a conversation,
Yeah,
and maybe
absolutely.
even gather other people from that would benefit from your research and try to come up with a discussion around it.
Yeah, certainly.
Is that
Yeah, yeah, we could put it in the books.
perfect? Great. Um, Well, I know it's a work day, and I don't want to take you much more time. I want to thank you for being available for this conversation. I hope that it brings awareness to your research, and I cannot wait to see what comes after this for you. And congrats on the work that you've done so
Yeah,
far.
thanks so much, Inez. Thanks for
You're most
the
welcome.
interest in the work, for sure.
You're most welcome.